Staffordshire Bull Terrier, American Pit Bull Terrier, Bull Terrier and American Staffordshire Terrier. All these popular dogs have one thing in common, and that is their ancestor, the Bull and Terrier. In this video I will tell you everything you need to know about this extinct dog breed. The Bull and Terrier was not a real breed, rather a crossbreed, similar to today's Golden Doodles or Cavapoos. They were crosses between the Old English Bulldog and various English Terriers, and they combined the agility of the Terriers and strength of the Bulldogs. The main reason why they were bred was dog fighting, and they were especially popular for dog fights in the USA and Britain in the 19th century. The first Bull and Terriers were very different from each other, which is typical for today's crossbreeds as well. They possessed random Terrier and Bulldog characteristics depending on what genes they inherited, but since they were bred for the dog fights, the breeders preferred short and smooth-coated dogs, which caused that the wiry-coated dogs disappeared quickly. The early dogs could have any color, any head shape and any ear type, but in the 1850s the breed was becoming more and more standardized. It was because the breeders knew exactly what they want from the dogs to be the ultimate dog fighters. In this time all the Bull and Terriers had smooth coat, their head was similar to today's Staffordshire Terrier and they were in medium size. Their tails were docked and ears cropped. Logically, breeders kept breeding the best dogs for them, which means that only strong, aggressive and determined dogs with high pain tolerance were bred further. On the other hand, the lack of aggression towards people was also an important trait, so the dogs never attacked their owners. It was not uncommon that a dog would attend pit fights and then he would go home with its owner and play with the whole family, including the children. The breed was losing popularity and started disappearing since the beginning of the 20th century. In this time, after a few decades, the classic Bull and Terrier became extinct. As I already mentioned in the beginning of the video, the Bull and Terrier is the ancestor of today's very popular dog breeds, including the Bull Terrier, Staffordshire Bull Terrier, American Pit Bull Terrier and the American Staffordshire Terrier. Around 1860s, the Bull and Terrier breed split into two groups, the White Bull Terriers and the colored form that lived for another 70 years in the dog pits until they finally were recognized as a legitimate dog breed called the Staffordshire Bull Terrier. In this era, many English people emigrated to the USA and they emigrated with their dogs, with their Staffordshire Bull Terriers. In the USA, these dogs became taller and heavier. That is why the new breed was recognized in 1898, which is today known as the American Pit Bull Terrier. The breed was registered under the UKC. Later, in 1936, the AKC registered the dog under the name American Staffordshire Terrier, but the difference between those two dogs is minimal. This will be maybe a little bit surprising, but the Bull and Terrier is also the ancestor of the Boston Terrier. When the dog fights were banned, they didn't completely disappear, but the people who wanted this sport to go on needed smaller dogs that would be easy to hide when the police arrived. That is why the dog fighter in the Boston area bred the Bull and Terrier with smaller dogs, and they created the first made in the USA dog, which is known as the Boston Terrier. It's important to say that all the descendants of the Bull and Terrier have the great quality of loving and friendly nature towards people, a trait that was needed so the original Bull and Terrier would not attack their owners. Sadly, many of these dogs are trained to be aggressive, which is causing the bad reputation of these breeds. It's true that the classic Bull and Terrier is long extinct, but in some sense there will be always some crosses of today's Bulldogs and Terriers, so we can say that there will always be some kind of a Bull and Terrier in the world. Tell me in comments what descendant of the Bull and Terrier do you like the most, and if you are new on this channel, consider subscribing, turn the notifications on and check our Instagram, Facebook, links are in description. Thank you for watching, see you in the next video.